Well, I look at Social Security and Medicare as promises we make to our future, to our senior generation. Social Security, there was a lot of talk in 2004 about privatizing Social Security. That was a big issue. I know my opponent talked about that, and he signed a letter to George Bush to try to do that. Now, you fast forward 4 years from 2004 to 2008, and you see a market crash. And I've been talking to seniors throughout the entire course of the campaign, and I remind them of that, and they're like, thank God they didn't do that, because we'd have nothing. It's critical to people in our country that people live on that. Where I live out in Warren in Sussex County, and that in the western part of the district, that's very important to people. It's important to people all around the country, but really, that's something that keeps people in their homes. It keeps people able to maintain their lifestyle, and it's critical. I remember when my parents were older, the Social Security was a godsend. It was something that really helped them. I did as much as I could with them and helped to support them, but that's something that is inviolable to me. You don't go after that. You don't take that away. You don't risk it in the markets. That to me is just irresponsible. Medicare. It's important that seniors have access to Medicare. I look at my own life. I look at my father and my mother. When I got home from law school back in 1987, my father had a massive heart attack, and I had to stay home. I wanted to go. There was an interesting time in my life. I came back from law school. I had all these aspirations. I wanted to go in the FBI. I had an opportunity to do that. And what happened was my dad had a massive heart attack. What do? You take care of your family. Family comes first. And I was a Republican back then. I remember I kid with people. I was sort of like Michael J. Fox on Family Ties, Alex Keaton. I was a real brash conservative. Why do we need government for anything? And I came back home and I saw my dad, and the medical care he got from the government and the subsidies he got and the help he got saved his life. He lived 10 more years because of that. He saw my 2 nieces get born. He saw me get married. I understood for the first time in my life government plays a critical role, just how important that money is to people. And when you're a senior, you have specific challenges you face. I remember seeing my parents go through that. I was there for them. I helped them. But Social Security is inviolable. It's a promise we have for the future generations. We have to make sure it's stable, it's funded. There are a lot of things we can do. Look, if we have to have another funding source, there are ways to do that also to keep it solvent. The problem we're facing now is, and everybody usually talks about this, is you have fewer workers working to support people on Social Security. I'm at the tail end of the baby boom. So when I'm 65, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to have very few workers working to support more people on Social Security. That's a problem. We have to work on that. We have to look at the system and see how we can fix that. We have to find alternative funding sources also to make sure Social Security is kept solvent. But that's a promise we make to future generations. This is one of those things I view as a critical moral issue for our country. You don't walk away from people. I look at my father and mother's generation, as Tom Brokaw called it, the greatest generation. These people are heroes. They built the country. They fought in World War II. They fought in Korea. They fought in Vietnam. These are people that gave back to their country, and we have a sacred obligation to keep that trust with them. So Social Security is something I will never squander in the markets, God forbid, and it's something we have to find alternative ways to make sure it keeps solvent. Medicare is another thing. It's critical for seniors who need that health care, who need the support that we give them as a people. We made a decision a long time ago to help people who are older in life, who are seniors, to make sure they had health care, to make sure they were taken care of. That's the moral obligation we have as an American people, and that's one of the things I will never give up, is that moral obligation. These programs, Social Security, Medicare, people talk about them as if they're sterile programs. They're really not. They exemplify the best part of the American ethic. They exemplify what we are as a people and who we are as a people, and we have to be creative. We have to look at how the funding sources and have to be creative, think outside the box. One thing Washington, D.C. does very poorly is they think inside the box. When you're in the Beltway for a decade or so, I think you forget how you do things outside of D.C. That's one of the biggest problems we have. We have a professional political class that doesn't think on the cutting edge. Like with my fair share New Jersey tax proposal, there are things I have proposed in my campaign that will help us, that will change the way we do things. It's not just getting more funding, it's how we fund things. It's changing the system by which we do things, not just bringing more money in, but where we get the money from.